Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official NFL week number 16 picks and predictions. Here it is, the Christmas season. We've got games happening on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but we begin on Thursday Night Football. How about this matchup? 7-7 versus 7-7. Very important NFC wildcard game here. It is the Saints traveling to LA to take on the Rams. The Rams sitting -4.5. They really jumped out to a big lead against the Commanders, looked very solid in that game. The Saints always seem to be a very streaky team to me. I was rewarded last week when I trusted them to cover against the Giants, and they did so very easily, although the Giants quarterback got knocked out of that game. I will be taking the Rams to cover this one 24-17. Don't love the vibe of it, but I do like the Rams slightly to cover this one at home. They've been playing a little bit better to me. They were a lot more dominant than the score indicates against the Commanders. They jumped up 20-0 in that game. They looked good with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Matt Stafford. They win that one, the Thursday night game, and improve to 8-7 there. Now, moving on to two Saturday games. So we've got one Thursday game, two Saturday games, a ton of Sunday games, and then three Monday Christmas Day games. That's how the schedule lines up. How about Jake Browning and this Cincinnati Bengals team? They're going to Pittsburgh. The Steelers, will they tank? They should probably lose out, finish 7-10, and get a top 10 pick. But we know this Steelers team, they are competitive, they play well at home, and they're facing a Cincinnati team that was kind of leaking oil last week, let's be honest. They end up beating Minnesota and Nick Mullins, but they struggled to do it. I do like the play here on the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are the type of games that they win. I'm telling you guys, they for some reason will win this game. They're only +2.5. They're at home, very cold environment. A few days before Christmas, they're going to feed off of that home energy, that defense against a backup quarterback. And I know Jake Browning's played well, but again, we saw last week a few little kinks in the armor. I think the Steelers are good value plus the 2.5 at home. Even the ESPN FPI only gives Cincinnati a 58% chance to win. This is really a toss-up, and I'll take the home team during the holiday season there. And then the 8 o'clock second half of the doubleheader for the Saturday night game, it is Buffalo, the hard-charging Bills. They've won 2 in a row. They just crushed Dallas at home, and they're going to take on the Chargers. The Chargers, just horrible effort. One of the most historically bad performances, especially first half performances last week on Thursday night. Buffalo sitting -11, 82% chance to win. I think they cover this game. It's just so hard to give the Chargers credit and say they can cover an 11-point spread at home against a Bills team that's very focused, that needs to win out. They need to win these games. They're trying for a wild card. We will see. But again, with the Chargers, the way they played last week, if you're going to pick them, I have a lot of respect if you actually pick the Chargers to cover in this game. It's just impossible for me based on the performance I saw last week. Moving on to the Sunday 1 o'clock slate, it is the Cleveland Browns coming in at 9-5 in control of the top wildcard spot in the AFC with Joe Flacco. The comeback win last week after it started really bad against the Bears. They will be taking on the Houston Texans. The Texans getting a pretty crazy win themselves against Tennessee with a backup quarterback, Case Keenum. I think CJ Stroud is going to be back. I'm going to be predicting this game like CJ Stroud is going to be back. Very even matchup. If you look at the FPI, 50.3% chance Houston wins it. I do like Houston to win this game and cover. It feels like the Browns are due not to get blown out, but based off of how they played last week, they were down 17-7 virtually the entire game. There was a Hail Mary at the end that probably should have been completed. I think the Browns are due for a loss where they don't cover the spread. I like Houston with CJ Stroud. I'm assuming he plays. They win this game. They cover the spread. Maybe you could argue the Browns, they've got a very good defense. They're not going to let up 27 points. Maybe there's an interception. Something happens. Even though Joe Flacco, you've got to give Joe Flacco credit. He's filled in phenomenally for the Browns based off of such a limited, time in that offense. I'll take Houston to cover in that one. The next one, it is NFC, AFC. The Commanders kind of sitting there at 4-10. Could the Washington Commanders lose out and finish with a top 4 pick in the draft? It's very possible. We will see. They're traveling to take on the Jets, and the whole Aaron Rodgers charade, is he coming back? It just makes no sense. The Jets are not making the wild card. Aaron Rodgers is very old. I think it's great news for Jets fans that Aaron Rodgers is even considering coming back right now. But if you are a Jets fan, tell him to just take the just use the offseason, get completely healthy, come back next year for one more run. We will surround you with better talent. We'll do things in the offseason. There is no reason to play right now if you are Aaron Rodgers, other than, I guess, it's an attention thing. I just don't understand it. The team's 5-9. They're not making the playoffs. I like Aaron Rodgers. It would be cool to see him return this quickly. If they were 500, if they were a little bit better. I don't see it happening. Right now, the Jets are sitting -3. I like the value in the Commanders to cover in this one, but the Commanders have been very streaky, and they're known to get blown out, especially on the road. The Jets have a very good defense, but it's just hard to pick the Jets to score more than 21 points based on their offensive situation. We'll have to see what ends up happening with Aaron Rodgers here, but I will take, I'd assume he wouldn't be playing this week. I will take the Commanders to cover plus the 3. I think they're slightly better value. Next, we do have Seattle traveling to Tennessee. Seattle coming into this game with the shocking Monday night win with Drew Lock over Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles, 7-7. You've got Tennessee sitting there. Will Levis possibly injured, not playing. Ryan Tannehill, he's a very, very capable quarterback, and I do think Tennessee, believe it or not, wins this game at home. I like the value plus the 2.5. Even with Ryan Tannehill, these are the type of games that Tennessee tends to win. I understand there's a narrative going around right now that maybe Tennessee will just try and lose these games. Obviously they're not going to try and lose these games, but just in general, it would be a little bit better for them, especially if Will Levis doesn't play the rest of the season. You do have Seattle really trying to win these games, but this is the NFL. These teams are going to play hard. I will take the home team. Seattle in a very tough spot. Short week, traveling West Coast to East Coast, changing time zones there. I will take Tennessee. Next, we do have Indianapolis traveling to Atlanta. 2 dome teams here. Atlanta is just such a miserable team. Seriously, if they don't fire Arthur Smith this offseason, it's just such a hard team to watch. But in this matchup, I will be taking the Falcons. I do find value plus the 2.5 against a very beatable Indianapolis team. Look, Indy played well last week on Saturday night against Pittsburgh, but it's not like this is a world-beating team. This is what Atlanta tends to do. They'll have a horrible performance, then they'll rebound and they'll win a close game. I think they'll win this game. It'll be close. I like the value plus the 2.5. They do have offensive talent. It's very hard to trust that offense, though, with Desmond Ridder. I'm going to do it and take them to win 23-20. Next, we do have the Packers traveling to Carolina. Green Bay coming into this game sitting -4.5. Carolina getting a win last week. I predicted it, but it was a very shaky win. They only scored 9 points on offense. And what's the over-under on the attendance for this game? 1,000 people. Last week was terrible. The Packers, on the other hand, really struggling right now. They kind of threw away a playoff chance, but maybe if they win out, they can still get in as a wild card. They're sitting -4.5, -5. I do think they cover in this game. Carolina, again, it was a nice win last week, but it instilled zero confidence in me based on them only scoring 9 points, the fact that the crowd was dead. Carolina's in a spot where they really don't need to tank because they don't own their first-round pick, but still, I will take the Packers to win this game and cover that spread. Next, we do have Detroit traveling to Minnesota. So Minnesota really fighting on Saturday this past week against Cincinnati with Nick Mullins losing that game. I would imagine they would start him again. You do have Detroit with that very impressive around 40 points they scored against against Denver at home. And I like Detroit here. I think Detroit's undervalued. They're going to win this game. They're going to cover. Based off of what I've seen from both of these teams in the past week, I understand there's the narrative that Detroit does not play well on the road, but this is a dome game for them. It's not like they're going outdoors. I love them to cover another spread, win this game by more than 3 points. Moving out of the 4 o'clock window, you do have the Jaguars coming in 8-6. They really need these wins for their division, for the wild card. They are traveling on the road. Tampa Bay, Florida versus Florida here. basically a pick 'em. Jacksonville sitting -1. And I will take the Jags to bounce back after that bad Sunday night performance. They win this game. I have been picking against Tampa Bay. I just don't know what to make of Tampa Bay. I really don't. Are they going to finish, 9-8, make the playoffs, win their division, and then lose in round 1? Probably, but I like Jacksonville. Jacksonville's just a better team. You're getting great value on a team that people are down on right now. Don't overreact to it. They end up winning this game. They cover a very minuscule spread sitting -1, and I've got them winning by 8. Moving on to the 4 o'clock window, this might be the biggest lock of the century. You have Chicago only -4.5 against an Arizona team who has absolutely quit. You have Kyler Murray banged up. They're traveling. There's a warm weather dome team traveling into a terribly cold environment. You've got a Chicago team that should have won last week. They're way better than their 5-9 record. Justin Fields playing for a future starting spot in the NFL. He's going to be very motivated for this game. This is going to be a blowout. It will not be close. Chicago will very easily, the spread in this game I would have at 7.5, maybe 8. I love Chicago in this game. It's just a horrible situation for Arizona. And also Arizona, there's really no incentive to win these games considering you could finish 3-14, guarantee yourself a top 3 pick. We saw they gave up 45 points against San Francisco. Now, San Francisco is a juggernaut to be fair, but still, I just think that Arizona team, there's no way they go into this cold environment and fight and keep it close. Give me Chicago, who is kind of undervalued right now, to win this game 27-10 there. The other 425 game, this is the premier game, 10-4 versus 10-4. The ESPN FPI has it predicted as a tie, or the analytics do. It's pretty funny. Miami sitting -1.5. Listen, when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys facing really good teams on the road, you just have to keep picking against them. I'm sorry. The way they've played, Buffalo last week, earlier in the season, against Philadelphia, it seems like San Francisco as well, whenever they go on the road against a really good team, they get blown out. I don't think they get blown out in this game. I love the over, but I do like Miami to cover. Tyreek Hill not playing last week, very likely going to be back. Jalen Waddle, really impressive performance. Miami at home, they're a juggernaut. They've got a really good offense. They're going to be up for this game. They win it. I still really do like Dallas, but this is a spot. Dallas actually, with the situation surrounding Philadelphia losing, they're probably really enthused. They still have a chance to win the division, but I do think Miami, they are still fighting for that first round bye, that number 1 seed in the AFC, -1.5. They get the job done. They win this game, and they cover that spread. Moving on to the Sunday night game, it is New England traveling to Denver. Kind of a really bad Sunday night game here for Christmas Eve. New England coming into this game 3-11, Denver 7-7. Both these teams coming off losses. I think this is going to be a surprisingly close Bill Belichick special game where it's lower scoring and you do have New England cover. New England was in a similar spot a few weeks ago on Thursday night against Pittsburgh where they were +6. They won that game outright. I don't think they'll win this game outright, but I do like them to cover a 6-point spread against a Denver team that really struggled last week. And I really haven't been buying Denver, but I do think they win this game 20-17 there. And then moving on to the Christmas Day game, so it's a triple header starting at 1 o'clock. You do have the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Raiders. The Raiders coming off that crazy victory, scoring 63 points. The Chiefs, they beat the Patriots by about 10. I do love Kansas City in this game. I like them to cover just barely, 28-17 over a Raiders team. Aiden O'Connell, he played really well last week, but he still has terrible numbers. He's still like a rookie 4th-round pick. Give me the Chiefs on Christmas Day, Arrowhead at home. That is a noon Central start there. Moving on to the 4:30 afternoon game, late afternoon game. It is the Eagles coming off their terrible Monday night loss against Drew Lock. They will be hosting the Giants, and the Giants dealing with injuries. Philadelphia sitting -10.5, 88% chance to win this game. This is a situation where let's not overreact on Philadelphia. They win this game, they cover a big spread. So back-to-back Christmas Day games with spreads sitting around 10, and I think the home teams cover them both. The situation surrounding the Giants after their bad loss to the Saints, the Eagles are going to want to get back on track at home against a bad team and thoroughly pound them. Don't overreact to last week. It was a bad performance by the Eagles, but they will bounce back and they will cover that spread. And then the premier Monday Christmas night game. 11-3 versus 11-3. San Francisco sitting -5.5. They are a juggernaut right now. And how about Baltimore with a very impressive win on the road in Jacksonville? I will take the 49ers. I mean, how do you pick against the 49ers right now? They are the premier team in the NFL. They're blowing everyone out. They win this game. They barely cover the spread, but I do like them to cover. I wonder if that spread's going to come down to 5, maybe 4.5 based on perceived value on Baltimore. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.